Nais ko lamang pong magbigay ng mensahe kaugnay ng naging pahayag ng ating Vice Presidente kahapon sa sortie ng ating katunggali. Mawalang galang po, hindi po buwaya ang Congresswoman ng Batangas 2nd District. Ang Congresswoman po ng Batangas 2nd District ay Congresswoman na nagtratrabaho sa tiwalang ibinigay ng taong bayan. Pangalawa po, ang Council of Record po ng aking asawa sa mga fabricated cases of rape na kanyang pinagkaanan ay si Attorney Nilo Divina ng Divina Law Office and my two good friends, Attorney Johnny Magboo and Attorney Bong Panganiban. Pangatlo, kung ako man po'y may pagkakautang, ako po'y nakikisuyo, sana po ako'y mapadalhan ng pleading or entry of appearance o kahit na po anong papel upang akin pong maunawaan ang naging partisipasyon ng inyong law office sa fabricated cases of rape na naging kaso ng aking asawa. Pasensya na po, pero hindi ko po ito maunawaan, pero rest assured po na kung may makikita akong papel na nagpapatotoo na naging bahagi po ang inyong law firm or law office sa mga kasong nabanggit, pagsisikapan ko po na bayaran ang sinasabi niyong utang. Hindi ko lang po maintindihan. Siyam na milyon daw po yun. Kung wala namang entry of appearance, wala ding pleading, para pong ang hirap maintindihan kung saan nanggaling ang siyam na milyon na pagkakautang. Ito pong aking pagsagot ay hindi po para sa aking sarili. Ako po'y sumasagot sa mga naging pahayag ng Vice Presidente kahapon dahil obligasyon ko po na alagaan ang dangal ng aking mga kababayan dito sa Batangas 2nd District.
You will be given your opportunity on the second round. That is in the interest of fairness and equality because the other members wishes to make their manifestation as well. So I will be calling the Honorable Rodriguez, and if there will be no more members aside from Hong Jokno, we will be going back to you, Honorable Suntay,
Reply.
after the first round. Honorable Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Chair, distinguished colleagues, the respected endorsers. Let me just comment first on the prefatory statement. Yesterday, I really acknowledged the statement and the lyrics given by the Honorable De Lima on whatever you go to come here, get here, by train, by car, by plane, by boat. And that is the song, Get Here, by Oleta Adams. Thank you. But in the prefatory statement, it seems that the prefatory statement is from the man from La Mancha, the impossible dream. I like to ask, is the quest to impeach the Vice President an impossible dream?
Not at all.
Okay, so the prefatory statement should have been changed. There should be something more positive than negative. Otherwise, impossible dream is an impossible dream. But anyway, I go now, Madam Chair, to the grounds. We will methodically go into the grounds to try to go to trial against the Vice President. So, number one, the first ground is Vice President Duterte committed culpable violation of the Constitution. There is none. There's no direct. We cannot have a violation of general principles of state policies. There has to be a point, according to the Supreme Court, there has to be clear, specific provision that is directly violated by the impeachable official. There is none. There is no allegation on that. Next, and this is where there is what we have to discuss because there are many underlying grounds for betrayal of public trust. The first one as stated in the complaint is committing plunder. Madam Chair, plunder is under Republic Act 7080. You have to put in here all the elements of plunder, which are for misappropriation, conversion, misuse or malversation of public funds, receiving the commissions. He receives the money, the kickbacks, you see, illegal fraudulent of conveyance of assets or taking advantage. All of these were not alleged in the complaint. So we take out plunder. Now, malversation. Malversation is governed, Madam Chair, by the law on Article 217 of the Revised Penal Code. So there are also requirements for malversation to support betrayal of public trust. And the elements here is that the offender is public officer and, as decided by the Supreme Court, she should be an accountable officer. The Vice President is not an accountable officer. Oh, who are the accountable officers? By definition, according to the Supreme Court, accountable officers are cashiers, treasurers, property officers, and the like. She is the Vice President. And so therefore, this malversation cannot prosper as stated directly. However, this is where it will be. However, there is allegation here that there is conspiracy. Ayan. The accountable officer, if there is conspiracy by the head of office, under the ruling of the Supreme Court, there may be malversation through conspiracy. That is what they are going to therefore make as a support for committing betrayal of public trust. And then, graft and corruption. It is governed by Republic Act 3019, Article 3. So, paragraph 3, E, F. And there is also no clear allegation that because of his office, he gave due advantage or she received kickbacks. This is confidential funds. And so therefore, Madam Chair, we could not also say that there is graft and corruption. Secondly, and lastly, are there high crimes? Very far from it. In this case, the allegation is that there is a misappropriation of 500 million in the OVP. 125 of that was 2022, 375 in 2000. Now, what is the status now of that particular finding by the COA? Madam Chair, the COA saw that there is lack of funds, lack of supporting documents, documentary evidence of payments. But there is no COA finding of corruption of the Vice President. This is just the lack of documentary evidence of payments to the respective beneficiaries. And then, we also have, Madam Chair, in this case, graft and corruption is defined, the Supreme Court said it's about 3019. So in this case, there is no, when did the Vice President receive the money? Where was it deposited? So, therefore, receiving these gifts or kickbacks under 3019.
If I may interrupt, Honorable Rodriguez, you are more than 5
I'm
minutes,
just going
so
to wind
kindly
up,
wrap
Madam
up.
Chair. I'm just going to wind up. And then other high crimes, it is far from other high crimes. So therefore, Madam Chair, these are my observations, and we are going to say, and I'm going to state here, that as far as betrayal of public trust, there is a recital of facts sufficient. Substance in substance to go to trial. The particular case here, there was observation, audit observation, and there was notice of disallowance. That's correct. But then the Vice President has appealed this to the Commission on Audit. As to allegations found by our committees on various matters, these are to be explained in the trial.
Yes.
And so therefore, I find that the first ground, there is substance in substance of this form. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Honorable De Lima, your comment?
I absolutely agree with the Honorable Rufus Rodriguez with respect to his summation that these are constitutive of betrayal of public trust. Now, it's not an argument that, the other grounds, culpable violation of the Constitution, graft and corruption, yes, the culpable violation of the Constitution and graft and corruption do not lead, or there's no corresponding allegations with respect to them. Because when we talk about culpable violation of the Constitution, we are centered on the principle of public office is a public trust. And therefore, if there's a betrayal of public trust, that is a culpable violation of the Constitution. Saka yung gusto ko rin pong sabihin for the record, yung mga sinasabi na she's not really accountable. The real accountable officers are the disbursement officers and the other members, for example, of the finance department of the Office of the Vice President. But I maintain my position that she is the ultimate responsible officer. And in fact, I just got a list of the annexes where nandyan yung mga signature ni VP Sara, annexes C, D, D-1, F, G, H, H-1, I-1, Q, R, R-1, R-2, S, S-1, S-2, T, and V3, V-3. Those documents attached to the complaint, and these are certified, and these are photocopies of the original, are there showing the participation, the knowledge of VP Sara. Now, there is a testimony, again, as I mentioned earlier, that there's disbursement that are highly questionable and illegal. These are also meant for persons not within the contemplation of the spending or expenditure of the confidential and intelligence funds of any office. So betrayal of public trust, I agree, this is the strongest ground that encompasses all of the other allegations subsumed in this ground number 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable De Lima. Now we recognize the Honorable Chel Jokno.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. Pursuing that same point, Representative De Lima, I noticed that with respect to the 125 million that was spent from December 21 up to December 31, 2022, there were 2 documents that were signed directly by the Vice President. One is a liquidation report attached as Annex B to the complaint. And the certification, the signature of the Vice President appears below the words certified, purpose of cash advance duly accomplished. And I believe that I would like to hear from the endorser the significance of that, because to me, that is not only an issue of command responsibility, that is a direct certification made by the Vice President that the cash advances of 125 million, which were spent only in a period of 10 days, the purpose was duly accomplished. Second, there is another annex, Annex C, which also bears the signature of the Vice President, a certification where it is stated that the expenses, again, the 125 million spent in December of 2022, those expenses were incurred in connection with the agency's intelligence and/or confidential operations and activities. And that document is signed, again, by the Vice President and under the word attested. So I would like to hear from the endorser what she thinks is the significance of these 2 documents signed directly by the Vice President. Thank you, Madam
Honorable
Chair.
De Lima.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It says full awareness, the certification, the attested, well, correct. that is more than just command responsibility, but is in fact direct knowledge with direct information as to the contents of the certification, that these are used for certain supposedly lawful purposes, but they turned out to be not so in accordance with the audit, with the COA audit memoranda. The findings also that came out during the hearings before the Committee on Good Government and Public Accountability. So this is personal and direct knowledge and supporting the veracity, establishing supposedly the veracity of the contents again of the certification. So she perfectly knows that what were included in the certifications turned out to be not the legal purposes for confidential funds.
Just for the record, Honorable De Lima, kindly restate the content of the certification.
Annexes.
Just to form part of the transcript of records.
Annex C.
Just the content of the certification.
Yes, Madam Chair. We hereby certify that the amount of 125 million pesos was incurred by the undersigned in connection with safe implementation of OVP initiatives and confidence building from the cash advance drawn on December 20, 2022 in the total amount of 125 million. We further certify that A, the certifying officer or employee is accountable for the disbursement from the cash advances of CF and/or IF. B, the expenses were incurred in connection with the agency's intelligence and/or confidential operations and activities, with supporting documents attached to the liquidation of CF, and for the IF, documentary evidence of payments kept in sealed envelope in the vault in the office of the SDO. C, the details and supporting documents of transactions that are classified are in the custody of the agency and kept in the vault, which may be inspected by IFCAU if the circumstances so demand. D, the funds are not used for payment of salaries and wages, overtime, additional compensation, allowance, or other fringe benefits of officials and employees, representation, entertainment expenses, consultancy fees, and construction or acquisition of buildings or housing structures. E, the purchase of equipment is relevant to the confidential and/or intelligence activities, and the expenses are necessary and utilized for legal purposes. Signed, Special Disbursing Officer Gina Acosta, attested Sara Duterte, Vice President. So he's fully aware, she attested to the fact that there were such expenses, but it turned out that many of them were not really meant for the supposed legal purposes, objectives of intelligence and confidential funds, as it turned out during those hearings, based also on certain testimonies from the disbursing officer and other officials, accountable officials of the Office of the Vice President. That's
Thank
just
you.
an example. That's just a sample of a certification signed or attested by the VP herself.
That is an actual certification.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Yes. Of the various expenditures,
Various expenditures, there are several.
which means that there are similar certifications supporting other expenditures.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Thank you. The Honorable Chua is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, let us assuming tama po yung sinasabi ni Congressman Bong Suntay na tama po siya kanina. Ito nga pong mga pondo, kung paano po tinransfer sa OBP. Talaga naman pong doon po, wala naman tayo nakikita talagang pagkakamali pa. And in fact, trabaho po to ng Vice President as head of agency, mag-disburse, tama po ba? Lahat po ng mga dokumento, pumirma kung ano po dapat niyang pirmahan. Tama po naman po yun. Subalit po, kung titignan po natin, dito po sa paragraph 27, sabi po dito, the cash was placed into 4 traveling bags and brought to the OBP on the same day. Thereafter, BP Sara instructed Acosta to release the 125 million pesos to Colonel La Chica. Dito po, sabi po dito, Acosta, pursuant to VP's instruction, personally gave Colonel La Chica the full amount of 125 million pesos. Now, my question is, ang SDO po ay si Acosta. Ano po ang papel ni Colonel La Chica dito po sa 125? And that is upon the instruction of the Vice President. Dito po ba, wala po tayong nakikitang diferensya? Now, if I remember it correctly, during the committee hearing, marami po nagtanong, after La Chica, ano na? Yun, dito po natin makikita ngayon, papasok yung statement ni Madriaga. The affidavit of Ramil Madriaga, which was attached as Annex A of this complaint affidavit, or dito po sa impeachment complaint, which can be found on page 13. At dito po sa statement ni Ramil Madriaga, sinabi po niya, and I quote, makikita po dito yung conversation sa page 29, sa paragraph 29, 30, 31, 32. Sabi po dito, Colonel Dennis Nolasco sent a certain Ramil Madriaga a text message instructing him to see the former. So Madriaga went to see Colonel Nolasco at Ultra Pasig City. He arrived at the place around 1:30 p.m. Next, they waited for Colonel La Chica. Ito na po si Colonel La Chica. In 2 DepEd vehicles that ultimately arrived past 3 p.m. Upon arriving, Colonel La Chica brought 4 duffel bags containing millions of peso. So ito na po yung duffel bags na winidraw po nila sa Land Bank at binibigay ngayon kay Madriaga. In particular, paragraph 32, Colonel La Chica instructed Madriaga to deliver a duffel bag to a mayor in Laguna. Hindi ko po alam kung yung mayor po may kinalaman sa intelligence gathering. So Madriaga delivered it to a certain individual at Cabuyao, Laguna. Then he was told by Colonel La Chica to deliver another duffel bag to a comedy bar owned and frequented by San Sebastian Law alumni located in the Timog area. Paragraph 33. When Madriaga arrived at the place, he saw OBP spokesperson Raymond Monsayak. Parenthetically, Monsayak was BP Sara's classmate. Subsequently, Monsayak signaled Madriaga to go upstairs and leave the money at the office. He followed suit and left. Monsayak did not speak to him. Paragraph 34 says, next, Madriaga drove a car to the parking compound of the office of the Ombudsman. He also brought another duffel bag of money and placed it inside the car. When he arrived at the Ombudsman compound, a guard signaled for him to park in a specific reserved spot, and he did. He placed the keys on top of the left front wheel and left. He then saw someone retrieve the keys and drive the car away. Within the same period, Colonel Nolasco gave Madriaga a white Toyota Vios with money in the amount of around 80 million pesos. Following Colonel Nolasco's instruction, Madriaga drove the white Vios to a parking lot inside SM Mega Mall, parked and locked the car, placed the keys on top of the left front wheel, and move away. He then waited for someone who retrieved the keys and drove off. On another day, Madriaga saw the same motor Vios driven by the wife of Ombudsman Prosecutor Ryan Ray Kilala, named Rhea, who was a classmate of BP Sara at San Sebastian Law. Now,
If I may interrupt, Honorable Chua, you are more than 5 minutes, so kindly wind up.
I will already wrap up my statement. Madam Chair, dito po yung sinasabi kanina ni Congressman Rupos na conspiracy. So dito na po napunta yung sinasabi po ni Congressman na hinahanap po natin kanina yung 125 million. With all the documents, kaya po yung COA naglabas ng AOM, naglabas ng kung ano-ano mga pangalan na eventually nakita po natin yung mga pangalan ay hindi makita ngayon. So ito na po yung sagot sa tanong kung saan po napunta yung pera na binigay kay La Chica. Based po ito sa affidavit ni Madriaga, which is attached in this complaint. So therefore, there is a recital of facts which constitutes the offense charged. Thank you po.
You read the name of Nolasco and La Chica. Just for the record, Congressman Joel Chua, who are these personalities? Nolasco and La Chica. You read that from the affidavit.
They are both, I think, security details of the Vice President.
Nolasco and La Chica.
Yes.
Thank you. Would you like to comment, Honorable De Lima?
To add,
Yes.
yung mga ninarrate po na based on the complaint ni Honorable Congressman Chua, pinapakita po na yung 125 million na yon hindi napunta sa dapat puntahan ng such a sensitive funds as confidential or intelligence funds. We can actually say that this were simply appropriated by VP Sara for her personal gain. Kapag hindi napunta dun sa dapat puntahan, at sabi nga sa affidavit ni Ramil Madriaga, ay ito ay napunta sa iba-ibang tao na ano ba sila? Hindi naman sila part of anything. Wala namang sinabi, there was no report, neither the Vice President nor the OVP reported any loss of the 125 million confidential funds. Dahil nga, napunta sa mga ganyan. So that is actually personal gain for our own personal purposes, whatever it is. Bakit napunta dun sa mga personalidad na yon as testified to by Colonel La Chica and Colonel Nolasco, which are part of the Office of the Vice President Security Detail. These are actually the head. Nolasco is the head, and also La Chica is, sila talaga yung mga supposedly pagkakatiwalaan ng Vice President. And so, it shows personal gain. Gusto ko lang pong sabihin at this point, na tungkol naman po sa plunder, yes, I agree that it's more of a conspiracy. So it's a better, it's a better theory than just plunder, because plunder committed through conspiracy. Let us remember po na pang malversation of public funds, it's plunder committed through a series of acts of malversation. So a series of acts of malversation can lead to plunder, especially if it meets the monetary threshold of 50 million or more than 50 million. Thank you.
Any other member who wished to manifest on
Madam-
the first ground? The Honorable
Madam Chair.
Marcoleta.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madalas pong binabanggit yung notices of disallowance and audit observation memo. Para po sa akin, ito po ay mababaw na ground to constitute an impeachable offense. Unang-una po, ang notices of disallowance ay appealable, they are contestable, Yung pong audit observation memo is just a memo issued by the COA for deficiencies in documentation not involving pecuniary loss. Ang notices of disallowance po ay pwede pang i-appeal ng Office of the Vice President sa regional level ng COA, sa commission proper ng COA, at pwede pang humantong sa Supreme Court. The notices of disallowance does not presuppose guilt on the part of the Vice President. It is not tantamount to a prosecution. Kaya wag po natin itong gamitin, itong mga dokumento na ito, as if meron ng ginawang kamalian ang ating Vice Presidente. Dahil dito po pumapasok yung procedural due process kung ito pa'y accorded sa ating Vice Presidente. At isa pa po, yung pong mga ginawa ng Quadcom nung nakaraang taon, yung pong pagbubukas ng mga envelope, I don't think yan po ay kasama sa trabaho ng Kongreso. Dahil ang pag-audit po ay trabaho ng COA. Meron po tayong Latin legal maxim, potestas delegata non delegari. Delegated
The
power should
Honorable
not be
Marcoleta
delegated
is
further.
reminded to confine the manifestation to the subject matter of the impeachment
Opo,
proceeding.
this is pertaining to the...
This is not
the
about
envelope.
Quadcom. This is the impeachment proceeding on the 2 complaints against the Vice President. Please stick to the subject matter of this impeachment proceeding.
But the envelope, yung opening of the envelopes, hindi po ba may kinalaman
If you have
ito?
concerns about the proceedings of Quadcom, perhaps you should address it in the other forums, but not in the impeachment proceedings. The Honorable Marcoleta is so reminded
Opo,
to stick to the subject matter.
yun lang naman po, Madam Chair, notices of disallowance. Ito po ay hindi mga dokumento lamang na ito ay appealable, contestable, at hindi ito nangangahulugan ng Vice Presidente ay may ginawa ng irregular dahil ito ay contestable. Yun lamang po ang aking obserbasyon. At ma'am, if I may react dun sa earlier remark made by the chair, I think I was alluded to kasi nagkaroon po ng spectacle kahapon.
The chair just adopted the manifestation of the Honorable Marcoleta yesterday during our determination of form.
Opo, yung pong I am speaking out of premonition. Actually, I'm not speaking out of mere premonition. I was speaking out of experience.
But that's
Opo.
what the committee heard. Nevertheless, Honorable Marcoleta, this is likewise not a subject matter of this impeachment proceeding.
Opo, winawarningan ko lang po ang audience na to observe proper decorum. Wala naman po sigurong masama doon, Madam Chair, di po ba?
But of course, for as long as the public are not committing any offense inside this committee hearing, then there is no basis at all to call their attention or to even mention their name.
Okay, ma'am, pero nagkaroon po ng president kasi sa Senado. Salamat po.
Honorable De Lima, would you like to comment?
Very briefly lang po. Okay, the audit findings under the audit observation memorandum may be subject to appealable, and they can still be questioned. But the fact remains that there are already evidence, there are already documentary evidence, kasama nga na po dito na naka-attach sa complaint, about those questionable disbursements, the use of confidential funds for not legal purposes, for confidential intelligence funds. So this committee, since it's scrutinizing now the very complaint before us, has the discretion and has the duty and the prerogative to do its own scrutiny and analysis of these documents, irrespective of any final COA finding. Of course, it is ideal that we should have the COA final finding, but the preliminary findings are already the red flags. The preliminary findings already show those acts constitutive of impeachable offenses. So it's not really a hindrance to this committee not to consider first those preliminary findings pending the final finding of the COA.
Let us be reminded as well that impeachment proceeding is a sui generis proceeding. This is not a criminal proceeding, neither is this an administrative nor a civil proceeding. The Honorable Zamora.
Madam Chair, with all due respect to our colleagues here, I would like to remind everyone about where we are at the stage of our proceedings. We are discussing the sufficiency of, in substance of the impeachment complaints, and as such, Rule 3, Section 5 of the House Rules on Impeachment Proceedings state that the requirement of substance is met if there is a recital of facts constituting the offense charge and determinative of the jurisdiction of the committee. So we have to confine ourselves within the four corners of the complaint to check if there is a recital of facts which will show the nexus, as the Honorable Laila de Lima has repeatedly said, with the impeachable offenses charged. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. The Honorable Vice Chair Dumogan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was about to point out, we are in the determination of sufficiency in substance. And as far as ground number 1 is concerned, it had been supported by complete narration of facts and even documents.
Vice Chair, speak closer to the microphone, please.
Is completely supported by narration of facts as well as certified documents. So, as far as I am concerned, so that we give due process as being claimed, we answer it in the positive so that later on, the respondent will be given the chance to explain. Because look, the confidential fund belongs to her office, and second, with respect to the disallowance, it will be only her if she did appeal that one or she did not. Because as far as the records is concerned, this was a long time that it did happen, and when the disallowance was issued in, we do not know of any appeal that had been done by the concerned respondent, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. The Honorable Arbison. Kindly turn on.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to make a manifestation regarding the definition of confidential fund.
Yes.
Confidential funds are lump sum budget allocation for government agency, specifically for surveillance, intelligence gathering, and security-related activities. These funds are designed for expenses that cannot be disclosed publicly to protect national security, peace, and order. Common use to include purchasing information, renting safe houses, and conducting undercover operation. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Would you like to comment, Honorable De Lima?
No need, Madam Chair.
The Honorable Padiernos, and then Honorable Erice, and then Honorable Degamo. Honorable Padiernos.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to make a few comments based on the observations of all of our committee members. So as mentioned by the Honorable Zamora, at this stage, we are merely looking at if there is a recital of facts constituting the offense. So at this moment, we are not weighing evidence or proof. And we only determine whether, first, the allegations are more than mere conclusions of law. Number two, the impeachment complaints specify acts or omissions attributable to the respondent. And number three, the acts fall within the constitutional grounds for impeachment as provided for in our Constitution. So yun po yung betrayal of public trust, treason, bribery, other high crimes, and so forth. So Just to ano lang po, for the consumption of our viewers, hindi pa po natin dinedetermine dito yung guilt ng ating impeachable officer. Hindi natin sinasabi na ginawa niya yon. In fact, parang ano po yan pag nag-file tayo ng isang complaint, criminal complaint before the prosecutor. So, we are here acting as prosecutors and checking if there is probable cause, in this case, to determine whether there is, at this moment, recital of facts constituting the offense charged. At sabi nga po ni Honorable Dumogan, meron pa pong opportunity ang ating impeachable officer to respond to this complaint. Hindi naman po na wala na po tayong due process, kumbaga. Bibigyan po siya ng pagkakataon to defend herself in this committee. Nevertheless, gusto ko lang pong mag-make an observation. So, as to ground one, assuming the allegations as pleaded for threshold purposes, the complaint alleges large-scale misuse and conversion of confidential funds in a manner that, if true, would plausibly constitute betrayal of public trust. Of course, minention din po yung labels ng plunder, malversation, and graft, and corruption. Pero tandaan po natin, itong mga crimes na to, may mga elements po yan that is provided under the law, and especially for mga malversation which is under the RPC, may mga requirement po yan na dapat may bad faith or criminal intent versus yung plunder, which is a special law, mala prohibita po, criminal intent is not required. So what I'm trying to say is, insofar as the crimes that were alleged, medyo, sabi nga po ni Honorable Rodriguez, medyo upon perusal of the complaint, borderline po yan. Hindi natin pwedeng sabihin na pwede pong impeachable offense. Pero, under betrayal of public trust, which is a catch-all phrase as given by under our jurisprudence, pwede po natin sabihin, pasok Pero, again, we're not saying here that the impeachable officer committed betrayal of public trust. We're just determining now if, kapag nalaman po natin na ginawa niya to, does it constitute that impeachable offense? So yun lang po, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. If there are, would you like to comment, Honorable De Lima?
Briefly, Madam Chair.
Yes, please.
Okay. Earlier, it was mentioned that we're acting here as prosecutors to determine probable cause. Not at this stage.
Yes.
Because at this stage, it's only the sufficiency of substance.
That's
Sufficiency in substance of the complaint. Now, about the fact or the observation that some of the grounds, including graft and corruption and plunder, may not, as alleged, the facts as alleged, may not fall under those, but definitely would fall under betrayal of public funds. It's betrayal of public trust. Now, it will be shown by the pieces of evidence that will be presented in proper time, that taken together, cumulatively, collectively, this can fall under those offenses or under those criminal acts of plunder and graft and malversation. As I mentioned earlier, when we talk about plunder, it's a series of acts of malversation of public funds. So we will see in the course of the evidentiary hearing that taken together, yung mga maglalabas po sa mga documentary evidence, most of them are here already, and also to be backed up by testimonial evidence, would show that the elements under those acts, plunder, malversation, graft, and corruption, will be sufficiently established. So evidentiary, Madam Chair.
Thank you. The chair believes that we had ample discussion already of the first ground. So with the indulgence of the members, we will be proceeding to our determination or deliberation on the second ground. Let me read. The second ground,
Can I reply to?
Honorable Suntay.
Yes, can I make
This is just a determination of sufficiency in substance. Would you like to reserve your opportunity to the succeeding grounds?
Madam Chair, before proceeding, just some additional points.
Because this is your first time for this first ground. Yes, you are recognized.
I just wanted to be clear that the signing of disbursement vouchers documents are not ministerial. People actually go to jail for basically just signing disbursement documents. No? People who are in the Sandigan Bayan today for many other reasons, because they had signed disbursement financial documents. So saying that it is a ministerial is not an actual defense. No? But secondly, on the point that COA had issued AOMs and NDs and are basically appealable, this is correct. But also, the documents contained in the AOMs and the NDs, the notices of disallowances, are also the body of evidence which constitutes the basis for the proceedings that we have today. And it needs to be reiterated that impeachment proceedings operate separately, independently of administrative proceedings of the Commission on Audit. So the statement that AOMs and even NDs are essentially appealable cannot prevent impeachment proceedings to occur and proceed as it should. Very important din po yung sa usapin po ng confidential funds, yung pong nexus doon po sa confidentiality ng use, no? Nung pong confidential funds at nabanggit na po, not just in this proceeding but in previous congressional proceedings, that ginamit po yung pong pondo para sa team building activities at iba pang mga bagay na hindi po pasok doon sa definisyon ng paggamit ng confidential funds. Yun po yung una. Pangalawa, even if we talk about an actual use of confidential funds, which is basically the rental of safe houses, supposedly to accommodate yung pong mga givers of confidential information, I think in the previous Congress's Committee on Good Government, led by Congressman Chua, it had been stated by COA that malaki po yung ginastos para sa rental po of safe houses. So I think in the records that we have, no, 16 million has been used for the rental of safe houses, and I think an assumption was made that in the course of 11 days, around 500,000 was used for this. No? So if you make an extrapolation on a day-to-day, it would be around 45,000 per day. And if you further make an extrapolation to 30 days, that should be around 1.36 million per month in rental of these particular safe house properties. And the question, therefore, and we will reach that point when evidence is elicited on what types of rental properties were used, saan po yung mga safe houses na ito? Kasi if we are talking about 1.3 million a month in rental property, saan po yung mga 1.3 million po natin makikita sa mga nagpapaupa? These safe houses should be in Forbes Park. These safe houses should be in Dasmariñas Village. These safe houses should be in the most expensive condominiums in Bonifacio Global City. Pag wala ho yun doon, mga kaibigan, parang hindi ho tama rin yung pong sinasabing paggamit na confidential funds, even if pasok po ito sa supposed tamang paggamit ng confidential funds, which is sa pagrenta po ng safe houses. Yun lamang po, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. I apologize, Honorable Erice. I overlook your name here, Honorable Erice, and then Honorable Degamo, and then
Madam
we will
Chair.
proceed to the second round.
Madam Chair.
You're recognized.
Madam Chair, can I be given also a time to explain.
Honorable Abante after Honorable Digamo. Honorable Erice first.
Madam Chair, thank you. Maliwanag naman po na dito po ay dinedetermine lang natin yung sufficiency in substance. At maliwanag din naman po yung parameters sa pagdetermine ito, yun pong recital of facts with its nexus to an impeachable offense. Tingin ko po na-establish naman po ito at it would be prudent on the part of the committee kung yung presentation of evidences, yung mga opinions natin ay re-reserve na lang natin after na masagot yung ng kinocomplain nating tao, ng kinocomplain na tao, upang sa ganoon maging fair naman tayo. Di ba? So we cannot just say na 1.3 million Forbes Park, hindi pa naman natin nakikita yung kanyang explanation. Ang ngayon po, simple lang. Sufficiency in substance. Meron naman pong recital of facts. At ito po ay konektado sa isang impeachable offense. Kaya po, siguro, we should limit that to the discussion para po maging patas. Salamat po.
Thank you. Next is Honorable Digamo.
Yes po. Madam Chair, after hearing what have been said by Kong Leila about COA findings of irregularities, mismatch between declared purpose and actual expense, testimony from staff about cash withdrawals or distribution, evidence of lack of liquidation, direct approval of the VP. These are all linked, as have been discussed, to betrayal of public trust and graft. But then we have to remember that money trails are objective and they leave records. Kaya nararapat po siya na ma-discuss further. And para po kung talagang makikita, as what Kong Padiernos have said, kung talagang makikita na merong katibayan at talagang proof, then kahit sino pa po ito, it does not necessarily mean the VP. It could be anyone na gumawa ng mga ganito at napatunayan, mananagot po talaga. So I believe there is sufficient in substance po ang ating first misuse of confidential fund. At the same time, the VP will be given the chance to defend herself, maklear niya kung may mga pagkakamali sa mga allegations na ito. Salamat po.
For the guidance of the members, we're still on the deliberation of the first ground. So for the last Kong to manifest, the Honorable Abante. After this, we will proceed to the second ground.
I just heard, Madam Chair, my dear colleagues, the statement outlining the definition of the confidential fund. I would like to remind my colleagues that tulad po ng sinasabi that public office as public trust. Ano po? I also would like to remind everyone that public money is also a public trust. So, ibig sabihin yan, confidential funds are not exempt from accountability. Oho, di ba? Confidential funds are not free money just to be spent by any impeachable official any way he wants or she wants. They are still public funds, subject to law, subject to audit rules, and accountability. I'd like to remind everyone that we are not trying to determine criminal liability here. We are not the court. We are an impeachment agency here. So when a high official uses public office to subvert the public interest or to place personal or partisan ends above constitutional duty, impeachment is the appropriate constitutional remedy. Yun lang po ang gusto kong sabihin, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So with the indulgence of the members, that concludes our deliberation on the first ground. We are now proceeding to the second ground. Please allow the chair to read. Vice President Duterte committed culpable violation of the Constitution and betrayed the public trust by committing plunder and or malversation, graft and corruption and other high crimes in amassing and converting the amount of not less than 112,500,000 pesos from the confidential funds allocated to the Department of Education for the year 2023. Honorable De Lima, your manifestation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the second ground, it focuses specifically on the Department of Education's confidential funds. Katulad po nung kanina sa presentation on the first ground, ay ilalahad muna ho namin, papakita muna namin yung mga certain factual averments in relation to ground 2 before I make a discussion on why they are impeachable offenses. So ang kwento po, ang nakalagay po sa complaint, nabigyan ng 150 million na confidential funds ang DepEd. Hindi ito pangkaraniwang alokasyon para sa ahensyang ang mandato ay edukasyon, hindi intelligence gathering. Ayon sa mga alegasyon, ginamit ang kaparehong pamamaraan ng paggamit sa OVP. Katulad ng pagsacertify na ang confidential funds ay ginamit umano sa mga kailangan at legal na layunin. That's paragraph 76, annexes R and series. Inaprubahan at sinumite ang accomplishment reports na nag-a-itemize ng supposed expenditures. That's paragraph 76, annexes S series. At yung personal na mag-certify ng mga liquidation reports. Subalit nagpalabas ang COA Intelligence and Confidential Funds Audit Office, yung ICAO, ng Audit Observation Memorandum, AOM, dahil sa kabiguang magsumiti ng wastong documentary evidence of payments alinsunod sa Joint Circular number 2015-01. So that is paragraph 78, Annex T. Bilang tugon, nagsumite ang DepEd ng certifications mula sa Philippine Army upang bigyan katwiran ang 15.540 million na ginamit umano sa Youth Leadership Summits. That's paragraph 7980. Pero mariin itong tinanggi ng Philippine Army. That's paragraph 81, Annexes U and V series. Sa masusing pagsusuri, lumitaw ang seryosong irregularidad sa dokumentasyon, katulad din nung sa OVP confidential funds. So paragraph 85, and supported by annexes W to Z, mga payee na may hindi mabasa o kulang na pangalan, mga resibo na inilabas sa magkakaibang lugar sa loob ng isang araw ng isang disbursing officer, magkakaparehong sulat kamay o pirma na ginamit ng iba't ibang individual. Hindi bababa sa 43,249,800 ang ipinamahagi sa 677 katao, kung saan 405 sa kanila ay walang PSA birth or death records. That's paragraph 86. Isa sa kanila, si Alice Crescencio, ay paulit-ulit na nakatanggap ng pondo gamit ang iba't ibang pirma, pangalan na lumitaw din sa mga resibo ng OVP. That's paragraph 86, annexes A at BB. Higit pang nakakabahala, nag-certify ang DepEd SDO Fajarda na personal niyang naipamahagi ang mga pondong ito sa iba't ibang lokalidad sa loob ng isang araw. Isa lang araw. Isang pisikal na imposibilidad at kalaunan ay umami na ang pondo ay inilabas sa pamamagitan ni Colonel Nolasco. So si Colonel Nolasco na naman po ito ay umano'y ayon sa utos na VP. That's paragraph 88. So, given those essential facts, ultimate facts. And mas detalyado po yung nakita ninyo sa screen. If admitted as true, these pleaded facts under the second ground constitute diversion of appropriated funds, simulated liquidation, misuse of confidential funds, and betrayal of public trust. That satisfies sufficiency in substance for the second ground. Itahi ko po muli doon sa mga grounds, yung culpable violation of the Constitution, graft and corruption, other high crimes, and betrayal of public trust. These are the constitutional offenses alleged under the second ground. On culpable violation of the Constitution, kung ipagpapalagay na totoo ang paggamit ng confidential funds lampas sa mandato ng batas, kalakip ang umano'y peking dokumentasyon, simulated liquidation at pag-iwas sa COA accountability mechanisms, isang malinaw na modus ay hindi simpleng administrative lapse. Ito ay sinasadya at may kamalayang paglabag sa fiduciary duty na itinatadhana ng Article 11, Section 1 ng Konstitusyon, ang public office ay public trust. Under the same standard applied in Ground 1, culpable violation is sufficiently pleaded. How about graft and corruption? Tulad din po ng nabanggit kanina sa Ground 1, ang paggamit ng pondo ay paraang taliwas sa mandato ng batas, ang mga peking dokumentasyon, hindi makatotohanang detalye sa paggamit ng pondo, at ang pag-iwas sa mga mekanismo ng accountability kung mapapatunayang totoo, ay malinaw na paglabag sa batas ukol sa tamang paggamit ng pera ng bayan. That is graft and corruption. This sufficiently invokes graft and corruption. Other high crimes. Sabi ko nga po kanina, ang other high crimes ay tumutukoy sa mga gawaing may matinding epekto na maayos na paggana ng pamahalaan. Ang sistematikong paggamit ng modus na ito ay nagpapakita ng pattern ng pagbaliwala sa batas na sumisira sa tiwala sa mataas na katungkulan. Ang ganitong asal ay isang act that renders a public official unworthy to remain in office. My position, Madam Chair, is that such conduct falls within other high crimes. And now, betrayal of public trust. Malinaw po na ang pagwawaldas sa confidential funds ay napakalaking kasalanan sa taong bayan na pinanggagalingan ng kaban ng bayan. Kung matunayan na ang pinuno ng isang ahensya ay involved sa modus na ito, malinaw na pagwawalang bahala ito sa tungkulin na gamitin ng tapat ang pera ng bayan. Ang ganitong paglabag sa tiwala ng publiko ay nagpapakita na hindi na siya karapat-dapat manatili sa katungkulan. So again, the second ground sufficiently meets the requirement of sufficient in substance, given those narration of facts na inugnay ko nga po doon sa mga constitutional offenses supposedly committed. Thank you.
To start our deliberation, we recognize the Honorable Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Ground number 2 is totally outside the jurisdiction of this impeachment court. Section 2 of Article 11 enumerates the officials that will be impeached. I cannot see here the Secretary of DepEd to be impeached. In other words, Madam Chair, these allegations about actuations of Vice President Sara as a duly appointed Secretary of Education is not within the jurisdiction of an impeachment court. We're not impeaching here a Secretary of Education. In fact, Madam Chair, it is very clear that once you are able to, we'll see there are some grounds of the Vice President to be able to be tried in the Senate, it is only a removal from office of the Vice President and perpetual disqualification. In the case of the second ground, specifically, it talks about actions of the confidential funds in the Department of Education. Madam Chair, the Executive Order 292 of the late President Cory Aquino, under his legislative powers in 1987, provides that the office of the Vice President is totally different from the office of the Secretary of a department. We have here, very clear, I have here, you can see here, Book 2, Distribution of Powers of Government. What does it say? Here, executive, exercise of executive power, the President. It is vested in the President. And Section 12, the Vice President also shall have the same qualification and so forth of the President, and he will be, it is he here, but it should be genders equal, may be removed from office in the same manner as the President. So this is under Book 2, Chapter 3. Now, we go to the Secretary of Education. Where is he found? It is on Book 4. Book 4 provides for the executive branch. The departments, it says here, Section 1, the executive branch shall have departments as are necessary for the functional distribution of the work of the President for the performance of function. Section 3, department proper. The department is run by the Secretary. Madam Chair, all of this will show that there is a dichotomy, a separation of the Vice President when he was appointed without need of confirmation. Then that is another duty of hers. And we are not here going to try the Vice President as Secretary of Education. We are only here to try his actuations in the office of the Vice President, wherein removal in case of impeachment could be ruled by the Senate. And therefore, Madam Chair, clearly, according to our rules which says, determination of substance is met when there's a recital of facts constituting the offense charged, and there is an and here, and determinative of the jurisdiction of the committee. Determinative of the jurisdiction. What is jurisdiction of our committee? Impeachment is an impeachment now committee to impeach. The charges are to impeach the Vice President as provided by our Constitution. So therefore, not only is there a lack of recital of the facts, what is important here is that this round 2 is not determinative of the jurisdiction. So everything here, from 2 up to 6, which pertains to the Secretary of Education, should be ousted and dismissed immediately for being not within the jurisdiction of this committee. Thank you, Madam Chair.
The chair wishes
Chair.
to raise a question to the Honorable Rodriguez.
Madam Chair.
This is for the sake of expounding our exchanges of argument. Honorable Rodriguez, does the Vice President cease from becoming such the moment she assumes the position of Secretary of Education?
Madam Chair, she does not cease, but then she holds another office separate from the office of the Vice President. And the Constitution is clear. In fact, it's only the President, Vice President, the Supreme Court. In fact, the very purpose of impeachment is to remove these high officials. In fact, the Secretary of Education, she resigned already. How can we proceed with hearing allegations on the Secretary of Education?
Madam Chair.
No, Madam Chair. So therefore, yes, let's hear also our distinguished Chairman Benny Abante.
Madam
Is this
Chair.
in line with the
Yes.
argument of
Madam
the
Chair.
Honorable Rodriguez?
Perhaps, with due respect to my good friend, Congressman Rufus, no, perhaps I could be able to correct the impression here. This committee is not to impeach the Vice President. It is to hear the impeachment complaint against the Vice President. This is not to impeach. This committee is not to impeach. Gusto ko pong i-correct yan sapagkat baka sabihin ng taong bayan na tayo rito, nakakaisang i-impeach na ang Vice President. This is to hear the impeachment complaint, Madam Chair.
At this juncture, we are calling the Honorable De Lima for her comment to the manifestation of the Honorable Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I respectfully disagree with the main contention that the alleged acts attributed to the Vice President concurrently holding the DepEd portfolio cannot be taken cognizance of by this committee. Clear po, concurrently, in concurrent capacity. So kaya nga po, there was the bypassing of CA confirmation precisely because she is a Vice President. No need to go through the confirmation by the CA. We're talking here as one person, same person, si VP Sara, as both the Vice President and the DepEd Secretary. And we can also say that this is also part of the pattern, the scheme, in those that we allege, the complainants allege to be attributable to the VP, is also attributable to her in her concurrent capacity as DepEd Secretary because nga, nandyan yung modus, is the same modus. So we cannot separate the personalities of VPs of Sara Duterte as VP and also as concurrent capacity in those years that she was DepEd Secretary. Because nga, concurrent nga, we are talking here about same person. And we need to look into what is clear to be modus, the scheme, the pattern of her irregular acts constitutive of impeachable offenses.